As a registered sports nutritionist, I'm always keen to find out what the best sports nutrition products are. Maurten is a brand that pops up time and time again, with high-profile elite athletes like Eliud Kipchoge, Tiggst, Asefa, and Lucy Charles Barclay all using their products. The thing is though, they are seriously expensive compared to lots of other sports nutrition, which means that if you're investing in them, then it needs to be worth it. Maurten use hydrogels, and in this video I'm going to break down the evidence that's available on sporting performance and gastrointestinal symptoms to help you decide whether there's something that you should use. I'm also going to give you one huge tip relating to sports nutrition that's going to save you a lot of time, money and frustration. Now if you're new here, then hey, my name's James and I'm a registered sports nutritionist. I work with amateur and professional endurance athletes and help them to train and race better, improve their recovery, and do all of this while staying healthy and happy. Now, before we go any further, I should say that I am not affiliated or sponsored by Maurten in any way. I've used their products in the past, and I think they're great, but I've used plenty of other products too, and I like facts, and that's what I'm going to share with you. Maurten burst onto the scene some years ago now, and like many companies, have had some incredible marketing with some high-profile athletes using their products and being incredibly successful. I wanted to know whether there was any data available to support the hydrogels that Maurten used, so I started researching it. I came across a review paper from 2023 which looked at hydrogel use in sport and examined metrics like performance, exogenous carbohydrate use, and gastrointestinal symptoms. The conclusion of this paper was that there didn't seem to be sufficient evidence to demonstrate that hydrogels offered any sort of performance benefit over traditional formats of carbohydrate delivery. Now it's worth highlighting that they did mention that there were inconsistencies or protocols which weren't necessarily suited to showing potential benefits of hydrogels, so that more research was needed in the future to explore this relationship. Furthermore, importantly, they didn't find any negative benefits of using hydrogels. After looking further, I discovered another study focused on hydrogel use in sport, and it was by Joshua Rowe and colleagues in 2022. This was a super important study because it specifically investigated the use of hydrogels in runners. Their team felt that too many studies used cyclists for the exercise modality, and they wanted to see whether there was any run-specific benefit, because cyclists commonly will tolerate nutrition far better than runners. Their conclusion was that a hydrogel format improved 5-kilometer time trial performance, caused higher exogenous carbohydrate rates, and decreased gastrointestinal symptoms compared to a matched non-hydrogel carb solution. Now, I kept searching and found another paper on the topic, which also suggested that hydrogels caused increased exogenous carbohydrate rates. This one wasn't really fair though, because the composition of the drinks and the sugars that they contained weren't matched, so it's not possible to know whether it was that or the hydrogels which caused the benefit. Finally, there was a paper from 2013 which seems to suggest that a glucose to fructose ratio of 1 to 0.8 is the optimum for causing exogenous carbohydrate rates to be higher. And of course, Maurten used this 1 to 0.8 ratio, whereas lots of sports nutrition products use a 2 to 1 ratio. It's hard to know whether that actually makes any difference when it comes to racing, because we don't have data to support this, but it's probably beneficial. However, other companies like Science in Sport and their Beta Fuel range, Ministry and Sturka all use this 1 to 0.8 ratio as well, so it isn't completely unique to Maurten. Now, if you look at a cost comparison of Maurten products to similar sports nutrition products, you'll see that Maurten generally are a bit pricier, and in some cases far more expensive. So if I was thinking about using Maurten products myself, there are 3 main things that I would consider. Firstly, it's purely preference. If I liked the taste or the texture of them, then that would make me want to use it. For what it's worth, I actually quite like them. Their gels are kind of like jelly. They're quite neutral tasting and maybe what I expect the texture of frog spawn to be like. They're easy to consume while running, and they are very different to a classic gel which is quite gloopy, syrupy and sweet. The second reason I would consider using them is if I suffered with gastrointestinal symptoms regularly and I couldn't find out another reason that was causing it during running. There does seem to be some suggestion that it might reduce the risk of gastro symptoms, and if I had exhausted all other options, then this might be beneficial. And thirdly, it's if you think that 1 to 0.8 ratio is better, and you don't want to use Science and Sport, Ministry or Sturka. But more than that, I don't think there's enough evidence to prioritise them above other sports nutrition. Now, I mentioned at the start the one big tip, and this is so important. If you already have a sports nutrition product that you use and you tolerate it, so by that I mean you don't mind or you enjoy the taste, the texture, it doesn't cause you any tummy upset and you can use it repeatedly, you hit your nutrition or carbohydrate guidelines, then don't change it. This is where that old saying goes of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is so true. In my opinion, if it works, then it is just not worth changing. So choosing the right product is super important. But it's also important to make sure that you consume the right amount of it during your race. And I've put a couple of race nutrition videos up for you to watch now.